Hi everyone. So today I'll be discussing the factory method. So factory method is the first design pattern which belongs to creational type. So as I've discussed in the introductory session, that design patterns are belonging to three different categories. The first category is creational, second category is structural, and third category is behavioral. So the creational category is just dealing with creation of objects. That's it. So you will ask me, if it is just about creating objects, then why is it a design pattern? We can anytime do a new operator of C++ and create objects, but it's not like that. Creating objects itself is a skill. It's not that every time I do a new anywhere in my code, it's going to be sufficient. We need to plan the way we are creating objects, because if we create objects anyhow, then it's going to create a mess out of your project. You need to plan the object creation so that it is not hampering any part of your system. Okay, so the first design pattern that we are going to discuss is the factory method design pattern. So what exactly do we mean by a factory method? So factory method, as I mentioned here, it defines an interface for creating an object, but let subclasses decide which class to instantiate. So that means I create an interface for creating an object. The interface is an abstract class in C++ which you cannot instantiate. The reason being, since it is abstract, you are not allowed to create an object of that class. So that's an interface. So similarly in Java, if you have an interface, you cannot instantiate an interface. Okay, so you define an interface just for creating an object. Then you have n number of subclasses which are inheriting from this interface. I repeat, you create one interface which is a base class, and then you can create n number of subclasses to this interface, all inheriting from this interface. Okay, so the factory method, the key point here is, in our program we can just interact with the interface, and then interface will delegate the object creation to the required subclass. For example, I have a base abstract class, say one sorting class, and I'm inheriting 10 different sorting algorithms from this base class. Okay, so each sorting algorithm forms my one class. So I have 10 different subclasses inheriting from an interface which is a base sorting class. So in my client program, I'm going to talk to the base sorting class, which is an abstract class. And based on which sorting algorithm I need, I'm going to request it to the interface, saying give me so and so sorting algorithm. So that base interface will give me back the required sorting algorithm object which I'm interested in. As we know that factory method belongs to creational pattern. That means we are just focusing on creating objects. So creating objects is the important key here. Okay. So here I have a UML diagram for a factory method. So this is the UML diagram basically to understand what a factory method is. So let's try to learn it. So here I have one class called a product class. Okay, so this product class is an abstract product class. So we are interested in creating this product. So this product is a abstract class, and then I have a concrete product which is inheriting from this product. So concrete product means the actual product. Okay, so this product is just an abstract product which is identifying a category of product, and this concrete product is the actual product. For example, in product I can say toothpaste, and in concrete product I can say Colgate. So Colgate is actual toothpaste. Okay, so this is the product hierarchy. Then in factory method I create the creation hierarchy in parallel with the product hierarchy. So I have a product and I have a concrete product inheriting from product. So this thing is clear, right? Now in parallel to this, I create my creation hierarchy, exact duplicate of it. See how? I have a creator which is in sync with product. So I have a creator class and I have a concrete creator class inheriting from creator. So if you just do a exact matching with this, now this product hierarchy and a concrete product hierarchy have a easier relationship here, right? Now the same thing I have copy pasted here, but now I have a creator and I have a concrete creator. So please remember that in factory method, the creation hierarchy is in sync with the product hierarchy. I repeat, creation hierarchy is in sync with product hierarchy. Right? So in this creation hierarchy, I have one function called a factory method. Okay, and then in a concrete creator, since I am inheriting from this creator, I have a factory method inherited here as well. Okay, so now if I want an object of product to be created, so please remember that product is just a placeholder. It's a category of the product, whereas concrete product is the actual product. Okay, so in the creator, I need to create an object of a concrete product because that's the actual product. So if we just focus here, when the factory method is invoked, what is the code that it writes? Factory method says return new concrete product. Why concrete product? Because concrete product is the actual product and this is just a placeholder. So factory method will internally have this code in it. It will say return a concrete product, a new concrete product. And if you just focus here, this factory method is invoked in one function called AND operation. So this factory method returns, see what is the type of data type that it has returned. It's a product. So this is a very interesting concept. In the definition of that function, you are returning a concrete product. But the return type of this function is a product. That is because always return type in a factory method have to be of abstract class. Please remember that. In factory method, the return type always have to be of the placeholder, always have to be of the abstract class. Whereas inside the function definition, you can return whichever concrete product you want. Just to extend this example, let's consider that we had two concrete products. Concrete product 1 and concrete product 2, both inheriting from product. Fine. So let's consider that I had two different concrete products, concrete product 1 and concrete product 2, both inheriting from product. Now in factory method, okay, definition, based on certain condition, I can either return concrete product 1 or I can return concrete product 2. Okay. For example, I can pass a parameter to this function from outside. And I can write a code inside this function saying if parameter value 1 is passed, return new concrete product 1. And if this parameter has a value 2, return concrete product 2. I repeat, we can pass a parameter here and I can write a code inside this function saying if that parameter has a value 1 in it, then return new concrete product 1. And if this parameter contains a value 2 in it, return new concrete product 2. So based on certain logic, I am deciding which new concrete product to return, concrete product 1 or concrete product 2. Right? Getting my point? So the entire logic of creation of which object, which new object resides inside this factorial method definition. So now in this example that I have two concrete products, even though I return a concrete product 1 or concrete product 2, the return type of this factory method will always be product, because that is a base class of these two classes. So irrespective of whether I return new concrete product 1 or new concrete product 2, return type always have to be of product, and that works. And that is a main key point of factory method. Always remember, return type have to be of the base class, but you can have whatever logic you want inside this factory method to decide on which object to create or which concrete product to create. Okay, so just to brief about the factory method again, please remember that you will be having some product hierarchy in your design. Like I might have a product here and I might have a concrete product here. So concrete product is the actual product which I am inheriting from a product. So this product is my abstract class and this concrete product is my actual product. So in factory method design pattern, you will have the creation hierarchy in exact sync with the product hierarchy. So you can just consider this is like a copy paste hierarchy of this. So here I have a product and here I have a concrete product. So in creation, I have a creator and I have a concrete creator. So both, if you just notice, are inheriting from their base classes. Next point to remember is define our factory method. So inside the factory method, you can have whatever logic you all want to create the respective concrete products. Like in the example I mentioned, let's consider that I have two concrete products, concrete product 1, concrete product 2, both inheriting from product. So you can have whatever logic you want inside the definition of this factory method in selecting which object to create out of the two products. But please remember, the return type of this method have to be product, that is of the base class, so that at runtime I can decide which of the objects to create, which of the concrete objects to create, but return type always have to be of the base. Okay, so this is what a factory method is all about. Now let's discuss what is the intent of the factory method. Why do we need factory method? Okay, so the intent of factory method is to define an interface for creating an object, but let subclasses decide which class to instantiate. So here I am defining an interface called creator, and let subclasses decide which classes to instantiate, meaning let concrete creator decide which object to create, meaning which concrete product to create. So now this sentence makes sense. Define an interface for creating an object. Now here creator is an interface, but let subclasses decide. Let concrete creator class decide which class to instantiate. And where is that logic there? Which class to instantiate? It's inside factory method. So factory method internally have a logic to decide on which concrete product to create. Right? So the factory method design pattern lets the classes defer instantiation to the subclasses. So in factory method, the classes, that is the abstract class, delegates or defers instantiation process to the subclasses. So factory method is also called virtual constructor because creation happens dynamically by the concrete classes, subclasses. So the factory method works by creating a parallel inheritance hierarchy to the primary inheritance hierarchy. So this is the primary inheritance hierarchy, and factory method develops a parallel inheritance hierarchy. The parallel set of classes, these concrete creator and creator. So this parallel set of classes are responsible for polymorphically creating an object of primary set of classes. Why polymorphically? Because the factory method function is same. So the message that I pass from outside to create an object is same, but internally it decides which of the concrete product to return. That's why polymorphically. So the parallel set of classes are responsible for polymorphically creating an object of the primary set of classes. So this parallel set of classes are typically called factory classes. So which are the factory classes in my diagram? Creator and concrete creator. So these are my factory classes. So these are called factory classes. Why? Because they produce objects. Why are these factory classes? Because why is factory used? Factory is for creating products, right? So these are called factory classes because those create product. Now, as far as the implementation goes, you can use 3 different implementations depending on the type of the problem you have at your hand. So I am going to explain 3 different implementations for this particular factory method. Okay. So based on your use case, please select the ones which you all need. The first one is, first implementation says, make the creator an abstract class. I repeat, make the creator an abstract class and do not provide an implementation of factory method in it. So in the first implementation, creator is the abstract class and do not provide the definition of factory method inside this class. It is exactly same as my UML diagram here. If you just see, factory method is just called here in an operation, but factory method is not defined here. Where is it defined? Factory method is defined in this class, which is the subclass. So in the first implementation, don't define factory method here in the base, just declare it. So just declare the factory method in the base class, please don't define it. That's the first way of implementing this pattern. So I'm just declaring factory method and make this creator as an abstract class and define this factory method in the subclasses. So I can have a concrete creator here, right? So factory method is going to be defined in the subclass and just declared in the base class. So here, based on the logic that you define in factory method definition, you can create the respective concrete objects over here and return. But please remember, what will be the return type of this? Always product. Okay, that's the first way of implementing factory method. The second way of implementing a factory method is make the creator as a concrete class. Make this creator as a concrete class and provide a default implementation for the factory method. Interesting. The second way of implementing is make this creator as a concrete class. That means you provide a default implementation for factory method inside this factory method itself. And if you want to override that definition into any of the subclasses, you are free to do that. But you can have a default definition of the factory method inside the base class itself. So this class will no longer be an abstract. And you can override the definition of factory method in the respective subclasses as you wish. And the third implementation of factory method is use a parameterized factory method. Parameterized factory method means, now in this diagram that I have shown, there are no parameters that I pass to factory method, right? So in third way of implementing this pattern, you can pass a parameter to this factory method. You can pass a parameter as an input parameter from outside. And inside the factory method definition, based on the value that that parameter has, you can create the respective subclass objects. Like in the first example that I had shown, like suppose I have two concrete products, concrete product 1 and concrete product 2. I can pass a variable to this factory method, and inside the factory method definition, I can decide which of the two concrete products to create. So if the variable contains value 1, I create concrete product 1. If the variable contains value 2, I create a concrete product 2. So in this example, I am passing a variable from outside. So that particular implementation of factory method belongs to the third category, which is make this factory method a parameterized method. So just to brief you all again, there are three ways in which you can implement a factory method. The first way of implementing a factory method is you make this creator as an abstract class. That means you don't define this factory method at all here. You just declare it. And let subclasses, that is concrete creator, let them have a definition for factory method. So in this example, my factory method, I am just declaring it here. I am not defining. Where is the definition? Definition is in concrete creator. So this is the perfect example of first way of implementing a factory method. Okay. Please remember, these are the three different ways. It's not that you have to implement all three ways. You have to implement one of the three ways based on the situation of your design. So in this example, I am just declaring a factory method in the base, but I am defining it in the concrete. So this is one way of implementing. The second way of implementing is make this creator as a concrete class. That means this factory method, I will provide a default definition here itself. I will provide default definition for this factory method here itself. And if you want to override that definition, you can definitely do it here as well. But default definition should go here. Normally we do this when n number of different sub-concrete creator classes are having common definitions. That time I do that. Let's consider that I have two different concrete creators and the definitions of factory methods are exactly the same. Then no point of repeating the code. So I move that code on top. So it is just placed over here once and both the classes are inheriting those copies exactly. So I am deleting the redundant code and I am just moving that code here once. So in those scenarios, you can make creator as a concrete class and define or have a default definition of factory method in the base class itself. And the third way of implementing a factory method is have a parameterized factory method. That means I can pass a parameter to this factory method and based on the value that that parameter contains, I can create the respective concrete products. So in this example, I don't have a parameter, right? So in the third way of implementation, you can definitely pass a parameter here. And inside the factory method definition, based on the value that that parameter contains, you can create the respective concrete products. Right? So these are the three ways of implementing a factory method. So now I am going to explain one code example of this factory method implementation. So this is the code. So what exactly do I have here? So I have an abstract product which is the product placeholder, which is not an actual product, it's an abstract product, just a placeholder for a generic product. Okay, so I'm defining a class called page, which is an abstract product, and inside this page I'm having a function called get page name, and this get page name I'm just declaring it here by making it pure virtual function. I'm not defining it here. So class page is my abstract product. Then I have a concrete product. So concrete product is inheriting from the abstract product. So in this concrete product, I create a class called skills page. Skills page is inheriting from page. Alright. So skills page is my concrete product. I'm inheriting from abstract product page. Clear? So here if you just notice, I'm defining this function. So this get page name, which I had just declared in my page class, I'm defining it in the concrete class. So what is the definition? It returns a string called skills page. Simple. My main intention in these sessions are just to make things as simple as possible. That's why see the code examples that I have used. Very simple. right? So I have an abstract product which is class page, in which I have a function called get page name. It says give me the page name please. But since this is abstract product, I am just declaring it here. And then I have a concrete product called skills page, which is inheriting from page, and I'm defining a get page name function over here. And what it does, it returns the skills page text. So is this product hierarchy clear to everyone? I have abstract product page and I have a skills page inheriting from page. That's it. Now in my factory method, what did I mention? That you need to have the creation hierarchy in sync with the product hierarchy. Now this is the product hierarchy. Now where is the creation hierarchy? It's here. So I have a concrete creator and I have a creator. So these are in sync with my product pipeline. So I have a creator class called class document. So in this class document, I am defining a function called create pages. But this create pages, I am just declaring it here. Okay, that makes class document as an abstract class. So I have abstract product, so I need a abstract creator class now, right? So this is that abstract creator class. I have a class document, in that I have a function called create pages. Since I have made it virtual, my entire class becomes, since I have made it virtual and I have made it a pure virtual basically, because equal to 0 means it's a pure virtual. Since this function is a pure virtual, this entire class becomes my abstract class. So in this abstract class, I have a function called add pages, and whatever page that I get from outside, I keep on adding them to pages data structure. Pages data structure is just a list of all pages. Simple. So whatever pages that I get from outside, I just keep them adding to pages. Simple. Now I have a concrete creator inheriting from creator. Why is this hierarchy? Because it has to be in sync with product hierarchy. So concrete creator, I have a class called resume, and resume is inheriting from document. Now this is my concrete creator which actually creates the objects. So in this constructor of resume, I am calling create pages. So this is the key here. So in create pages, what am I doing? I am calling add pages. So is add pages function defined in this class? No. Then from where does it get? Resume is inheriting from document. So this add pages, since it is not there in resume, it will go and check the document class whether it has the definition of add pages. Is add pages definition there in a document class? Yes, it's here. So it will invoke add pages from the document class. And what is it doing? It says new skills page, meaning it is creating a new object of skills page class, and that will be passed here, and it will be added to pages data structure. It will be added to this pages list. Again I am calling add pages, and now I am calling new education page. Education page, can you all guess where this class will be in the hierarchy? Yes, you are correct. Education page will be next to my skills page. So education page will also inherit from the page class. So you can have many different classes over here, all inheriting from page. Now one is skills page. Now the second one which I mentioned here is education page, which will definitely come next to skills page. So education page will come here, inheriting from page. And similarly you can have n number of different types of concrete pages and all inheriting from page, and you can create those objects here. Okay, so who is actually creating an object? Concrete creator. So concrete creator is actually creating object, and this is the main function of my C++ class. What exactly am I doing here? I am creating a new resume and just saving it into document pointer. So please remember that while coding factory method, always try to stick to interfaces as much as possible, and not only factory method, any design pattern in general, always try to stick to the interfaces as much as possible. So here, even though I'm saying new resume, what is the type of the pointer that I'm saving that data into? Document. So who is the base class of resume? Document. That's why even though I'm doing new resume, save that data into document, which is of the base class. Because tomorrow, if you decide to create another concrete creator class called instead of resume, say something else which inherits from document, then you can definitely do here new that another stuff, but the return type can be a document. So the code changes are minimal. So always try to save the return type into as much abstract class as possible. Okay, so is this clear? So I'm just going to brief this again. I have an abstract product called a class page, which is just the abstract product. Then I have a concrete product called skills page. You can again have another concrete product called education page, inheriting from page again. Then I have a creator class, which is an abstract creator. The reason it's abstract creator because I have a pure virtual function called creates page. And then I have a concrete creator which is inheriting from creator. So class resume I am inheriting from document. And what exactly am I doing here? In create pages I am calling add pages and I am creating new skills page, new education page. So you can do all new of required classes here. So this is a factory method. Create pages is a factory method which I have just declared in the base and which I am defining in the concrete. So out of 3 implementations that I explained before, which implementation type do I have implemented right now? The first type, right? Because the factory method is just declared in the creator class and the factory method is defined in a concrete creator class. So factory method is just declared here in the base creator class and factory method here is defined in the concrete creator class. That's why this is the first way of implementing the factory method. So actual creation objects happen here. So this create pages is the factory method. In the main, I just create new of resume and save it into document pointer. So what are the consequences of using a factory method? The consequence of using a factory method is it eliminates the need to couple different classes into your code. So did I do new skills page, new education page in my main function? I never did that, right? Because who is the taking responsibility of creating new concrete products? Factory method. So it's fully the responsibility of a factory method to create new objects of my concrete classes. So concrete products are created by factory method. So I'm delegating the responsibility of creating concrete products to my factory method. It's his headache, right? I'm not doing a new of concrete products in my code. It's the factory method which is doing it. So what is the advantage of doing this? It promotes loose coupling because I'm giving full to responsibility of creating objects to my factory method. So it is separate from my code. So loose coupling and instantiation can be controlled. This is important point. I may pass a message to my factory method saying please give me object or please construct the object. I can pass a message to my factory method. But if some preconditions are not satisfied for creating that object, factory method can anytime prevent creation of that object. So the object creation can be controlled. It's not that anyone can create objects. I'm passing a request to factory method to create an object, but based on certain preconditions, if those are not satisfied, factory method can decide not to create an object. So creation of the objects can be definitely controlled when I'm using factory method to create objects. Now last point is when do we use it? How will you know when you're designing your project when to use it? You need to use this method when the class can't anticipate the class of objects it must create. I repeat, use this pattern when the class can't anticipate the class of objects it must create. So here I am just saying new resume, but in that resume which types of pages to create is not in my control. I can't anticipate. I can't anticipate the future which ones I'll need. So the invoker can pass that complexities to the factory method. So let factory method take the headache of deciding which classes to create when. And I have to just call factory method saying please give me object. Factory method can decide whatever logic it has to create the respective objects. So we can't, whenever you can't anticipate which type of objects to be created from the client, use factory method. The second time when you can use this factory method is when only creating instance is not sufficient. The object have to be initialized with some data which is not available to the client. Suppose just creating an object is not sufficient, but that object have to be initialized with some data which is not there with the client. So who is going to initialize that data after creating an object? Factory method. So when just creation of an object is not sufficient and you have to initialize some data to it, let factory method do it. Because client anyhow doesn't have the data with which to initialize the object, right? So after creating, if you want to initialize the object with the data which only factory guy has and which client doesn't have, then best to use factory method. So let factory method create the required object and let it initialize it also, because the data anyhow is not available with the client. So when you want to create the object and get it initialized with data which is not there with the client, use this pattern. So what are the two different times when you will use this pattern? First time when you can't anticipate which objects you will need. If the client can't anticipate which objects you will need, that time you use this pattern. And the second time when you can use this pattern is only creating an instance is not sufficient. You want to initialize that object with the data which is not available with the client. Okay. So with that, I am concluding my factory method session. Thank you.